Right, let's have a look at this set's question. So question 7, 2022, which is quite unusual because sets questions tends to be on paper 1, as you can see from most other questions that we've done. This one was probably on paper 2 because following this, there's some questions on probability. And probability is normally on paper 2. So question 7, 2010. In a survey, 54 people were asked which political party they had voted for in the last 3 elections. The results are as follows. 30 had voted for the Conservatives, 22 had voted for the Liberals, 22 had voted for the Republicans. 12 had voted for the Conservatives and the Liberals, 9 had voted for the Liberals and the Republicans, 8 had voted for the Conservatives and the Republicans. 5 had voted for all 3 parties. Okay, so 3 elections, you could only vote for 1 party in each election. So I suppose over the odd 3, you could vote for the same party each time. You could vote for a different party each time, or a mix of anything in between. Okay, so let's start by drawing our Venn diagram. Okay, let's label them Conservatives, Liberals, Republicans. Okay. I'm just looking down through it. Okay, right. So the key to sets questions always is to start from the inside. So just like a flower where this is your bud. So start from the inside and expand out. Okay, so expand out into the outside regions of the Venn diagram. The reason for this is the very center of that Venn diagram, so it affects everything. In other words, it's part of the Liberals circle. It is also part of the Conservative circle. Do you see that? This part here. Let me highlight it. Okay, now let me draw the Liberal circle. You can see that green part is part of it. It's part of the Conservative circle. It's part of the Republican circle. It's also part of where Conservative intersects with Liberals. Do you see that? It's half of the intersection. It's also half of the intersection of Republicans and Conservatives. And it's half of the intersection between Liberals and Republicans. So it doesn't matter what sections of the Venn diagram you're looking at, this center core, this bud in the center is part of it all. And so for that reason, you have to start there and work your way out. Okay, because, well, you'll see as I start to do it, and I'll explain more. So I always read down until I find how many had voted for all 3 parties, because this is the section of the graph where those 3 circles overlap with each other. They have something in common. So 5 voted for all 3 parties. So that 5 goes into that center right in the middle. Okay, and I tend to tick it off then. So 8 had voted for the Conservatives and the Republicans. So Conservatives and the Republicans, 8 had voted for them. Okay, so a common mistake that's made is that 8 gets put in there. So for the Conservatives and the Republicans. Okay, now what I want you to see is watch when I outline Conservatives and Republicans. Now my question to you is, where do those 2 circles overlap? And you can see it's all in this area here. Okay, now my question to you is that 8 people or is it 13 people? So the way I have it drawn here is 13 people have voted for the Conservatives and the Republicans. Okay, which is wrong because it should be 8. So instead of putting in that 8, we should have subtracted the 5 that was there already from it and just put 3 in there. Okay, because now if you see the Conservatives and the Republicans, you can see that between them, 8 people voted for the Conservatives and the Republicans. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. These 5 people did vote for the Conservatives and the Republicans. It's just they also voted for the Liberals. Okay, so they tick more than one box. Okay, so the only time you would put 8 in here and not subtract the 5 is if it said, but not the Liberals. Okay, then it's telling you that 8 voted for the Conservatives and the Republicans, but did not vote for the Liberals. And in that case, the full 8 would go in here. Okay, but that's not the case in this question, so we have to subtract off the 5. Let's work our way up. 9 had voted for the Liberals and the Republicans. So the Liberals and the Republicans. So you can see here is the overlap area between the two of them. 5 are already there. They did vote for the Liberals and the Republicans. It's just they also voted for the Conservatives. So I subtract that 5 off the 9 over here, and that leaves 4. 4 more that voted for the Republicans and the Liberals. And let's work our way up. 12 voted for the Conservatives and the Liberals. So again, let's take a look at those 2 circles and see where did they overlap. And you can see it's these 2 circles here. So these must add up to 12. 5 is already there. 5 from 12 leaves 7. So you can see now this is why the center bud has to be filled in first, why that 5 has to be filled in first, okay? Because in each of these 3 cases, I have subtracted that 5 from them to figure out what goes here, here, and here. Okay, right, let's work our way up. 22 had voted for the Republicans, okay? And another mistake is when the 22 appears here, okay? Again, that's wrong, because if I draw the circle that is the Republicans, everything in this circle should add up to 22, not that there's 22 out here. Okay, so this area out here where we have the 22 is those that voted for the Republicans only. So in the context of this question where there was 3 elections, they voted for the Republicans in the first, the second and the third election. They have voted for the Republicans only. So 22 voted for the Republicans, so I need this entire circle to add up to 22, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 and 5 and 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then I'm going to subtract that from the 22. And that's how I get the 10 that goes out there that voted for the Republicans only. So if I have a look at that circle now and add up all the numbers in it, I have 10 and 3 is 13, and 5 is 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I'm happy that 22 have now voted for the Republicans. And in the same way, let's take a look at the Liberals. So we have 7 and 5 and 4 that have voted for the Liberals already. Okay, they have voted for other parties, but they have voted for the Liberals. Okay, and this didn't say Liberals only, it said Liberals. So again, to work out this one, I'm going to go 7 and 5 and 4. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 16. 22 minus that 16 is 6. Okay, and so that's the Liberals. And then finally, the Conservatives. This circle has to add up to 30. Okay, so I am going to go 7 plus 3 plus 5, which is 15. And of course, 30 minus the 15 that's already there means 15 more goes out there. Okay, am I done? I'm not sure. 54 people were surveyed, so let's add them up. So I have 15 plus 7 plus 5 plus 3 plus 6 plus 4 plus 10. What did I do there? 15 plus 7 plus 5 plus 3 plus 6 plus 4 plus 10. So I'm popping onto my calculator there now. And I know that these ones add up to 30 plus 20. So I get 50 for that. Okay, 54 people were surveyed. Okay, I have not accounted for all 54. So what I must do is I must put a universal set around this. Okay, so that's my universal set. Okay, I might clean out the calculations from around it so that you don't get confused. And so 4 people sits outside here, which is the difference between 50 and 54. Now those 4 people that sits outside there are 4 people that probably didn't vote at all. Not probably, but they definitely didn't vote at all, assuming that there was only 3 parties in that country. So those 4 people did not vote for the Conservatives or the Liberals or the Republicans. And now all 54 people are accounted for and my Venn diagram is finished. So what kind of questions do they ask of it? If one person is chosen at random, what is the probability that the person chosen did not vote in any of the 3 elections? Okay, well, that's those people that sits outside of the Conservative, the Liberal and the Republican circles. So it's 4 people. You don't put down 4, okay, because probability is always a number between 0 and 1. So it's 4 people out of the 54 people that were surveyed. Okay, so probability is normally written as a fraction. So 4 out of 54, or of course you can write it as 2/27 if you reduce it down. If one person is chosen at random, what is the probability that the person chosen voted for at least 2 different parties? Okay, well, at least 2. Well, those 7 people voted for 2 parties. They voted for Liberals and Conservatives. Those 4 people voted for Liberals and Republicans, so they voted for at least 2 parties. These 3 people voted for 2 parties. They voted for Conservatives and Republicans. Now, don't also forget to include the 5. These also voted for at least 2 parties. In fact, they voted for 3, and 3 falls into the category of at least 2. Okay, so 7 plus 5 plus 3 plus 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So 19 out of 54 is the probability that a person chosen at random voted for at least 2 different parties. If one person is chosen at random, what is the probability that the person chosen voted for the same party in all 3 elections? So the same party in all 3 elections, okay? So a common mistake that's made here is that people would say 5, okay? Because that is related to all 3 parties, not all 3 elections. Okay, so if they're going to vote for the same party in all 3 elections, it means that they voted for Republican only or Liberal only. Okay, in other words, in election 1, 2, and 3, they only voted for Republican or Liberal or Conservative. Okay, so how many voted for Republican only? 10 out of 54. How many voted for Liberal only? It's those 6 out of 54. And how many voted for Conservative only? Well, it was 15 out of 54. So what you do is you add all of those up because all of them voted for the same party in all 3 elections. So 15, 25, 31. Okay, so it's these people here, 15, 25, 31 voted for the same party in all 3 elections. And that was that question.